Kurt, let's get inside your list of the world's 100 highest earning athletes. What is the aggregate amount of earnings, both in terms of salary and endorsements? You look at both of those this year versus last year.
This year, $2.6 billion, the 100 highest paid players earned. That's on par with last year, really no change. And that's a function of the NFL. Last year, because of the lockout, you had 30 NFL players made the list because their bonuses were all compressed into a very narrow time frame, and we look over a 12-month period. This year, you only have 13 NFL players on the list, so that kept the overall number level, even though most of the other sports, the numbers have gone up.
Now, your list looks at earnings through the end of May. 27 baseball players on the list, the most of any sport. Why is that?
That's because salaries have gone through the roof in baseball, particularly the top level guys. You have a lot of guys signing deals that are paying out $20, $22, $24 million a year. And it really comes down to the explosion in TV money that we're seeing on the local level, huge deals that Fox is handing out to teams, and that's getting passed on to the players. You have very few baseball players, though, doing much off the field. You know, once you get past Derek Jeter, there are very few guys that are making significant endorsement income, but the salaries have really taken off.
The fact that Major League Baseball does not have a salary cap, you do have a salary cap in the NBA, NHL, and the NFL. Is that part of the reason why there are more baseball players on this list than the other sports?
Yeah, that's a very good point. I mean, there are no controls really at the end of the day. The luxury tax is a minor hindrance to team payrolls. But, you know, you look at the NBA, I mean, there is a cap on player salaries, not just team payrolls. And so, you know, individual player salaries are capped in the NBA. But baseball, we obviously don't see that.
Last year, Floyd Mayweather topped your list. He's nowhere near the top 10 this year. Why did Floyd fall off, and who's number one on your list this year?
Yeah, Floyd Mayweather was on top last year, $85 million. This year, he only fought once over the 12-month time period we're looking at, earned $34 million for his fight against Guerrero. So, you know, he falls down the list. Number one this year, he's back, Tiger Woods, number one on the list. He was a mainstay on the top of the list before Mayweather knocked him off. Earned $78 million between June 1, 2012, June 1, 2013. He has been on fire on the golf course, and it's paying off off the course. Lucrative bonuses with Rolex and Nike kicked in because he's been winning so much and has returned to the number one rank. And he's also racking up huge appearance money. Played overseas, Malaysia, played a couple in China, Thailand. Earned more than $10 million in appearance fees alone last year, plus $13 million in prize money.
We know that the Heat did better than the Lakers on the hardwood this year, but what about off the court? Who did better, LeBron James or Kobe Bryant?
Kobe Bryant squeaked by LeBron this year. Kobe ranks third overall, $62 million versus LeBron at $60 million. Really comes down to their salaries. Kobe has the top salary in the NBA, $28 million a year, and then makes $34 million off the court, predominantly from his Nike contract. LeBron edges him out in terms of endorsements. LeBron made $42 million by our estimate off the court, but his salary doesn't measure up to Kobe's.
Who else rounds out the top five on your list?
You got Roger Federer, number two. Might surprise some people, but this guy has an unbelievable roster of sponsors. He's got 10 multi-million-dollar endorsement deals. Big names like Nike, Gillette, just signed a big deal with Moet and Chandon. But what really boosted up Federer's income this year is he did this barnstorming tour in December, went down to South America, played 6 exhibitions, pulled in $14 million in appearance fees from the exhibitions, and that sent his income through the roof this year.
You think, I was reading your post on Mayweather, you think this possibly could be his most lucrative fight ever coming up. Do you think this fight he's got coming up could actually propel him to the top of your list next year?
The fight could do 1.5, 1.6 million pay-per-view buys, which would generate more than $100 million in gross revenue. Floyd could be looking at a cut of $50 million from the fight.
On the other hand, to fight twice, both Pac and Floyd are getting older, so that seems like it's going to be harder and harder for them to do. 2 fights within a 12-month period.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Mayweather signed this deal with Showtime, though. He's supposed to fight 6 times over a 30-month period, which is a lot for Mayweather. This is a guy who's used to fighting once a year. He very rarely has fought twice a year over the last 6 years. But he says he's going to honor that contract, and once that 30-month and 6 fights are done, he's out.
Well, they don't call him money for nothing.
Absolutely.